This week's trio is amber. Now amber is really hard to define, isn't it really? I think was the likes of Guerlain that kind of set a standard of what we think of as amber. Kind of resins and spices and vanilla and all that kind of thing, isn't it? This kind of woody thing. A lot of people say it comes from the ancient ambers found in trees. Although I can believe there's some ancient ambers that they used to use, but that amber must have been something specific, mustn't it? Depending on what tree it came from, it must have been a specific resin, even if it's an ancient tree. So not sure I buy that. They must have got, maybe they found one and got an idea of it, and maybe it was, you know, myrrh or frankincense or labdanum, you know, something. And they said, well, we're going to call this amber, and then that got developed later and later on. It's basically a golden, warm smell, isn't it? And that's the best way of defining it for me personally. It's something spicy, warm, and resinous. Yeah, anyway. So first up is the indie one, and it's from April Aromatics, and it's called Erdenstern. I think German is not my thing. Erdenstern. Anyway, let's forget that. It's basically it's an ambery one. Maybe you call it a woody amber. We're not going to get into that nonsense. It's spices. It's a rich tobacco. There is a kind of fresh something going through it. But what it is it makes me think of like a grandad or something. Not in a. It doesn't. It's not a grandad smell, but it's also got this dusty cocoa, and it kind of has this dusty warmth. And that mixing with the tobacco, I mean, our grandma smoked a pipe as well, why not? And it's that kind of warm coziness of getting a hug in their house as they're baking cakes and throwing back the whiskey and what have you. It's that kind of almost nostalgic memory, and it's just very calm and very lovely. I think it's based on I think it's a god. I can't remember one from when I reviewed it. But it's a beautiful transportative fragrance even. It does kind of take you away to some better times, some better memories, some warmth, and it's woody, like I say, ambery, obviously, the spices, the kind of resinousness, and the old rich, warm tobacco. Beautiful fragrance. Erdenstern from, that's more Dutch, isn't it? Erdenstern from Erdenstern from April Aromatics. And then we have the niche amber. Normally I try to be a bit different, a bit unique and a bit whatever, but I'm not going to go for that this time. I'm just going to go for the most obvious one, the most famous one, and probably you'd call it the kind of benchmark amber, wouldn't you? And that's Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. Now this is, I believe it means big night, does it? Yeah, dressed up, suit. It's not particularly a fascinating fragrance, it's not interesting, it's quite linear, but it's just pure class. It's rich golden amber, so you'd imagine things like labdanum, some sort of golden resins in there with it as well. There's a nice bit of warm spice, couldn't tell you what it is, but you know what I mean, them kind of rich, warm, semi-sweet spices, and it just smells like you've sprayed yourself in a warm gold suit. And ambers have this, they always have a boozy feel. I don't know what that's from, maybe the vanillas and resins mixing, but it's just like this, yeah, gold suit that you sprayed on, and everyone wants to come and give you a cuddle kind of fragrance, and you're going to walk with a bit of a swag. That's Grand Soir to me. So that's Grand Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. My designer amber is one that doesn't get much spoken about. I suppose you could call it an amber, although that kind of golden feel, yeah, it has got ambery notes in the base. I think it comes from the orange blossom, and that's YSL Ysaint L'Homme Intense or Longtemps. Can't remember which one it is. Or it's also called Le Parfum, but not the new Le Parfum, which is called some La Parfum. It's very confusing. Let's just call it Longtons. And it's this golden orange juice, and it is this kind of sunset. I think there's tarragon in it, there's the orange blossom, there's a slight anisiness to it, but it's this rich, warm, golden amber, like a sea of amber, like swimming in syrup that's not quite as sweet, you know, with the orange sun reflecting on the surface of it. It's a really, really beautiful, underrated fragrance. It has elements of the original Lom. I would suspect there's ginger in it, and that kind of freshness within the rich warmth. I know that sounds weird. And it's your golden leaves one. It's your, like I say, the reflection of the sun. It's a nice going out one. It's a cosy, snuggly, wrapping yourself up in a scarf kind of fragrance. And I think it's a very underrated one. And is it an amber? What else could it be if we've got these stupid definitions? It's kind of floral, it's kind of spicy, it's kind of yeah, it's amber. That's Yves Saint Laurent, Lom, Longtons, etc. Right, folks. As you can tell, it was again another very brief trio. Well, I'm still not perfectly well and whatnot. So that's why I'm out of breath. And anyway, we don't need my life story. But yeah, amber is such a generic term. It doesn't really mean anything, does it? It means different things to different people. But we do kind of all get a spicy golden fragrance, isn't it, ultimately? So what's your favourite ambers? Do you like a more spicy, edgy, woody amber? Or do you prefer a kind of rich, floral, sweeter amber? Did you spot any favourites in the list? Again, I don't need to waffle on and on. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.